Okay, I'm Jim Jones. I was in the 11th grade at Oviedo High School the day of the plane crash. I was in Jack Calvert's 11th grade English class, staring out the window instead of paying attention to my studies like I should have, I guess. And looking out over to the west, I saw three planes suddenly appear just over treetop level. The two outside planes, one on either wing, were vigilantes, later designated A3Js. They were helping escort the wounded, or crippled, I should say, A3D plane. And as soon as they, this all happened in an instant. As soon as they cleared the treetops, a parachute appeared. The two wing planes peeled away because they saw it was a school. And then the A3D, commanded by Lieutenant Hodgate, realized it was a school and he could not clear it. So he had two choices, either crash into the school or to do a maneuver to avoid it. And he did just that. He maneuvered the plane and it became vertical and he crashed into the ground there about 50, probably maybe 75 yards from the school property. And that's about it. After that, my business teacher, Naval A3D across the hallway, came and got me, and she said, "Jimmy, go over and check on Mert and Bill Ward," friends of hers that lived there by the crash. So I took her old car and managed to get over there. Of course, they were okay, and I went to the scene of the crash. Nothing anybody could do, of course. And that was about it. It was a tragic day. It was a hectic 5 or 6 seconds is all that it took. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Steve Mello. I started at Oviedo in the 5th grade, moved over here from Sanford. I was at the school when the plane incident happened. I was out in the playground area. I having phys ed. I was in the 8th grade at the time. I noticed the plane coming in, but I really didn't pay much attention to it. I wasn't sure what I was looking at. Then all of a sudden I saw a parachute come out, and then the plane started to turn. And as it was turning, it was coming down and crashed over by Clark Street, I guess. A bunch of us started moving down the railroad tracks at that time, and they stopped us and said, don't go down that way, just hold fast where you're at. And that was about it. And it took a while for it to sink in what had actually happened. Then they talked about it at the school the next day in assembly, and that was my experience with it.
Hi, I'm Mary Courier Scott. I was in the 4th grade when the plane crash occurred, and I was on the east side of the building, so I did not see anything. I was in Marguerite Parton's room, and she had 2 daughters at the high school then. And all I know is that we heard a crash and we saw a lot of smoke and heard a lot of commotion going on, and then later learned from our teacher what had happened, and we had to stay in the classrooms for the rest of the day. But what a sacrifice this had made for us. And my grandmother lived in Sanford near the Naval Air Base, actually rented an apartment to Navy pilots, and one of them knew about the crash and all. So anyway, a sad day, but what a great honor for us to be able to do this and have your family with us. Thank you.
I'm Tom Mentor. I was in the 10th grade. I was on the playground. Actually heard the planes coming. Just as they cleared the oak trees on the west end of the field, I was later told that the two outside planes were actually trying to give him some lift on that center plane that was having engine trouble. When he saw the kids on the playground, he just pulled the thing up into the back flip, flipped off kind of to his right side. One of the guys parachuted out and crashed right there. And that was just kind of pretty much it. It happened just in mere seconds. Just a real split-second decision on his part to avoid hitting that playground. And I'm sure it saved a lot of people's lives right there when he did it. The playground was pretty much full, well, as much as it could be at that time. But anyway, that's my account. That's about it. Thanks.
All right, my name is David Evans.
I was born in Orlando at the old Florida hospital, Orlando Sanatorium, but I grew up in Oviedo, and I was in the 8th grade. And what I remember so distinctly is that we were out on the playground, and we heard this crash. We ran down the railroad track towards the corner of Lake Jessup and Clark Street, and a ball of smoke was going up, and there was a parachute in a tree on the corner there. The northwest corner was a Dancy Tangerine Grove owned by Billy West, and up rolls a fire engine from the volunteer fire department. And it was all a blur, and at 14 years of age in the 8th grade,
Yes, that's
now some 50 some odd, 60 years later, it's a little difficult to separate all of it, but it was really remarkable. I've looked up an A3D was the first jet bomber that the Navy had that was capable of landing on landing on a aircraft carrier, and also capable of carrying a nuclear weapon. And it was one of the early jets that did not have ejection seats, which kind of explains why the pilots and the crew were not able to get out, except for the one survivor. So that's my recollection, and I'm just excited to be here and honor the pilots and the crew and the family that was able to return back to Oviedo here some 50 or 60 years later. All right, thank you much.
All right.
My name is Lingo. I was 16 years old when the event occurred. I was in English class on the first floor of the 2-story school. We always heard jets, but on that particular day, the jet noise was real loud. We all looked in the direction it was coming from, and there was a jet airplane flying very low coming right at the school. I saw a guy come out of the airplane on the left side. It was right over the treetops when he went out, and the jet exhaust blew his parachute open. He was horizontal, and then he was on the ground that quick. And during that same happening, the pilot pulled the nose of the plane up, made a right turn, and went, I think, tail first right into the railroad bank. And there was a humongous explosion. We could feel the heat in the school coming through the window. The windows were open because we didn't have air conditioning. As soon as it happened, I thought, well, the fire department needs to know about this. So, and I happen to remember at 16 of the fire department. So I ran from the school to the fire station. We had an air raid siren. I pushed the button for that to sound the siren to get the fire department involved. My dad was fire chief. He pulled up. It was just us two there at the time. He said, son, you take that fire truck, I'll take this one. And I drove to the scene of the crash. And it was a horrible, horrible sight. And I'll never forget the man that got out had walked across the street to the crash site. He was standing there looking at that thing, and it just was heartbreaking to see that. And that's it.
Okay, Thomas Moon. I was in the 6th grade at the time, and we were on the playground out here at the high school, or Oviedo High School at that time, and we heard a big roar coming our way, and turned around and looked and saw 2 planes go over, and I happened to see a parachute drop into the orange grove right there on the corner of Lake Jessup and Clark Street. And then all of a sudden we had the big fireball came up when it hit the ground there, and I mean the playground just cleared out. Everybody was running towards the main buildings, and it was really a scary situation. And I grew up right on Clark Street, and my mother said that the windows shook in the house when that plane hit the ground. And just everybody was so, everybody was so worried about the people that were on board. And even at 12 years old, it really was a shock for a long time there before it kind of a little bit got over it. And pretty much, I tried to keep up with the names of the guys when the three that were in the plane and then the one that parachuted out. And there was a little article in the Sanford Herald at that time about him, how he broke a leg or two, and that was his third time of bailing out of an aircraft going down. And he says, I think I'm going to look for ground duty from here on out. My dad said, I don't blame him. I think the first one I would have been looking for ground duty after that. But pretty much that's the account that I have.
I'm Charles Richard Hodgate. I was born in Sanford, Florida in 1960. My mom, Lieutenant Charles Hodgate was my father. My mom moved to Massachusetts about 1964, which is where I live today. Say that I was very, very young when my father passed away. I was less than 2 years old, and my sister wasn't yet born. So I only have the vaguest memories of my father being picked up by strong hands and whirled around, and where it hurt and tickled a little, and rough whiskers and kisses and laughing, and I'm not even sure that those memories are real, but I hold them dear nonetheless, because my sister doesn't even have that, because my mom was pregnant when my father died. So I don't know how much of it was a sense of loss, but there's always been a piece missing in the family. Growing up, it doesn't go away really, because I remember one day my daughter asked me when she was an adult on Christmas night, if I could have had anything for Christmas, what would it have been? And I said, I wish I could just play catch with my dad one time. That's one thing I could do. Wish I could have played catch with my dad. That's all I got.
Hi, I am Tracy Montour. Lieutenant Charles Hodgate was my father. He never knew I existed. My mom realized she was pregnant the day of the funeral. We grew up in Massachusetts after I was born here in Sanford, but we moved to Massachusetts to be close to my father's mother, who was he was her only child. So he had grown up in Fall River, Massachusetts, and that's where we grew up as well. We grew up hearing stories, not so much from her mom, but from my dad's best friend, who was also my brother's godfather. We would meet with them probably once every couple of months, get together for dinner on a regular basis. And that's where we learned most about our dad and what he liked and what he didn't like. We grew up knowing he was a hero, but we didn't know the whole story of what happened until Jim Jones contacted us, and he gave us his memories of it, and that's kind of clarified things a bit for us. And we've just been amazed with everything that we've learned here and all the people we've met, and just so grateful to have been able to come here. Thank you all.